with part 2 of a series of videos we're putting together around how to manage the department and the issues which concern parents and people that have contact with the Department of Child Protection. And what we're going to look at today is locking up kids. Like, what are we teaching them? Why do we lock them up in the first place? And what can we do about it? But before I go on, I just need to say that if you are watching this on YouTube, which you probably are, as that's where we're putting all of our videos now, we'd just like you to subscribe to the videos and ring the bell so that you can get notifications of when there'll be further videos as well, because there's a whole series of them coming out, and I'm pretty sure that some of them will be of interest to you. So the question really that we need to ask now is, what is the age of criminality? Like, when do we decide that a child is a criminal and therefore needs to be punished for their behaviour? Now, an issue came up recently which made me think a little bit more about this, and that is someone told me about some cases which happened for kids that are in residential care. Now, those kids are in a system which is not a prison. They are entitled to go out and go to school and do whatever it is they need to do. But some of those kids are really angry. Angry kids. They're often older kids sometimes. They have peers and other kids around them that are also angry, and they feed off each other. And there are times when that anger explodes into behaviour that's damaging to themselves, to others around them, and to equipment that is in the home. So, and there was one particular child I know of who had an angry outburst, and he broke a television set. As a result of that, the police were called, and he was questioned clearly, and he was basically convicted of property damage within this home. And I was thinking, now, if a kid is in a home, in their own home with their biological parents, and they have an angry outburst and they throw something and it breaks a television set, it is unusual for the parent to call the police and have the child charged. Normally we'd address the issue, the reason for the anger, the discussion around how this behaviour was unhelpful, and would find a way probably to get them to pay for the TV set. So there are ways by which you can manage this. We don't just bring in the police and we don't charge these kids. The other thing, I guess, that we need to address is the age. So at the moment here in South Australia, a 10-year-old could be charged with criminal behaviour. And often, we're thinking, well, somewhere on the line, these kids need to have learned about the difference between right and wrong, what's helpful, what's not helpful. But we also need to understand that a lot of these kids come from environments where either they have been abused or whether they've been taken into care and are really angry about the fact that they're separated from their parents and their school and other family members and their own siblings, and that they don't know what to do with that. So they're going to express it, like most kids do, in behaviours that are unhelpful and hurtful and harmful to themselves and to others. So we need to be aware of all of that, rather than leaping in and thinking, well, these kids are just bad kids. They're not. They're often traumatised kids. And we need to think of ways to work with these children that are more appropriate than calling the police, having them locked up, or if their behaviour is way out of hand, we take them to a juvenile facility and we do lock them up. Even though in some cases they haven't committed any crime whatsoever. But because the system itself can't deal with them, we lock up. Now, a kid that is in a home and is out of control, or she's out of control, the police don't normally get involved in those. They don't take kids that are kind of losing it at home. They don't take them and then lock them up. So why would we do that to these kids? We need to find ways to work with these kids more appropriately. And I think one of the things that a lot of these children need to have is a consistent person in their lives that they can trust and that they can work with around the issues that are of concern to them. And so it's important that we stop locking kids up, that we look at the age of criminality and we raise that to an appropriate age, which I would suggest be around 16 or 18 when they reach adulthood, that we find a system that is prepared to nurture and care for these kids so they're not off behaving in ways which are destructive, that we try and understand often. You know, one of the things that I often hear is that when a young person finds someone in their lives that they can trust, and particularly someone who believes in them, someone who is going to be there through thick and through thin, that because their behaviour becomes out of control, doesn't pass them back to the system and they get shunted to someone else, or they get placed into a residential care facility and then to another residential care facility and then to Cavan or some juvenile detention. You know, that often these kids just want to be heard, and they want to be just like every other person on this planet. They want to be understood. So there's something wrong with our system when we insist on locking them up. Drastically wrong. And we need to find that solution so that kids are not further damaged, because when they go into these institutions, there are lots of other kids who are far more wiser than they are, that are able to teach them some of the tricks that they've learnt from being incarcerated as well. And there's nothing that one could argue is necessarily going to rehabilitate them by locking them up. But by caring and nurturing for them, by listening to them and understanding what their issues are, that will bring about the best possible results. The question we need to be asking is, why don't we do that? What gets in the way of us being able to help these kids in a more beneficial and in a more beneficial way that's going to prevent them from growing up to be adults who do become criminals, right? And the cost that puts on our system in terms of hospitalisation, mental well-being, and sometimes the loss of life. So we need to be thinking about some of these things. And if you've got a comment that you want to make, please make it down below. Let us know what you think, and also make sure that you subscribe and that you become a part of Child Protection Party. And let's become part of the solution rather than focusing on the problems all the time. Let's think of ideas and ways by which we can work together so we can rectify some of these issues that sit with some of these kids. These kids are important, vitally important. How they grow up and how they progress is going to be of benefit to all of us. So let's work together to find that solution. So thanks everybody for being with me. Take care, look after yourself, and particularly be safe.